Hey YouTube, it's Pastor Dwayne here. So today we are going to be taking a look at this guy. He was quite the surprise. Just one day I logged into Twitter and someone said, "Hey, have you seen this?" And I was like, "No, this is totally new." This is the Greek New Testament, Textus Receptus Readers, produced by Grange Press. Now, this is the first time that they have printed something, and this something is a reader's edition of the Greek New Testament. So if you're not aware of what a reader's edition is, what it is they produce the Greek text of the New Testament, and then on the same page, they produce definitions for words that don't appear as frequently in the New Testament. So this is a very beautiful volume. So let's take a look at it. So this is a hardback edition, and you can see in gold stamping on the front there, the Greek New Testament. Textus Receptus Readers Edition. Here's your spine. You've got the same details there as well. And Grange Press. Now, I think that's how you say it. It's Grange or Grange. I'm sure somebody will correct me. They are a new player on the printing market. Now, if this is the first time they've printed something, let me tell you, they've set the bar quite high on their first production. Anyway, let's take a look at the inside. And this is really cool. So a couple things you're going to notice here right away is here's the page. You're going to notice Grange Press is in Taylor, South Carolina. And the really cool thing about this one is if you take a look right up here, you're going to see that it is printed in the United States. I know some people make a big deal about that. So this is relatively local. Now, you're going to see right on the front page here, each individual book. They didn't put them in, their Greek text and then their transliterated bit and then the English bit and then the page number. They just got the Greek text here with the page number. Now, the interesting thing here, the cool thing about this one is you're going to get a publisher's introduction. The publisher's introduction reads as though they are confessional bibliologists, and this makes sense because they have a special interest in the Textus Receptus. Now, this is a Scrivener's based Textus Receptus. It's on the front title page there. And I'm going to assume that it's the same text used by the Trinitarian Bible Society. So it seems like, based on a reading of their introduction, that their views are pretty much in line with TBS. Now, I can't say that for certain, but that's just the general sort of feeling I got from reading through that. So after the publisher's introduction, you're going to get a note, and it's going to give you a little bit of detail about how they put the stuff in the margins and how to use the reader's edition. Now, coming over to this next bit, this is a cool read. So the publisher has taken the Latin preface to the 1633 Elzivir edition and had translated that and printed it and put it in front of the edition here. So you get access to that, which is really cool. So if you don't know Latin, you can actually read this. The 1633 printing of the Textus Receptus by the Elzivir brothers was the one where they coined the term Textus Receptus. In fact, I think they have it in here. Let me see if I can find that. It says, "You have therefore the text which is now received by all, in which we present nothing altered or corrupted. The text which you now is received by all." And of course, that's where we get Textus Receptus from. So once you get to the end of the preface there, the 1633 Elzivir Preface, you get straightway into the text of the scripture. Now this, guys, I'm telling you, I am super impressed with this. They're just the column, most of the times when you see a Greek New Testament, the column width is like so wide. It's crazy wide. And I happen to like my text columns a little bit smaller, not to the point where it's like a double column, but this is perfect. It's like those Thomas Nelson New King James versions. They make the column a little more narrower than most. And again, it just looks so good there. The first book here, Katamatheon, you're going to see the text block there, and then you're going to have the definitions of specific words. So in this instance, we have vivlos, which is a noun, nominative, singular, feminine, and they define it as a written book. So when you're coming along, reading, you can see the first word actually doesn't occur any more than 30 times in the text. So they've put a little 1 there, so you can see that. And you just come over to the side there and you got it defined right there. Now, if you've seen a number of reader's editions, what they typically do is they take the definitions and then they put them in the bottom of the text. I have one here. I'll take a picture of it. But they just make it a long running text. Very difficult to find the defined word in that bottom portion of the text. This edition takes it a step further. And instead of putting it in the bottom, they put it nicely in these lists on the side. And it's so much easier to find the word you're looking for. And it makes for a much smoother experience. I've actually had a chance to use this for a little bit. I was doing a little bit of work on my other project. You may have seen the next video that I've released on that where I'm going gone through and documenting the editions, I've used this, and it's been great with these helps here to find the specific portion, make sense of the passage I'm looking at. So this is excellent, guys. I am impressed. I didn't take a look at this earlier, but I want to show you a little more of the construction here, because this book is Smith sewn. It is a sewn binding. Like this is not cheaply made. It's a sewn binding. So this is going to last you a little while. And then of course we have the a black satin ribbon that comes along with it. I've said a lot in this review already, but I'm absolutely impressed with this thing. It's beautiful. Normally I'd mention something about line matching, but the paper is just so thick that you're not seeing anything at all through it. There's no ghosting at all, so line matching isn't even required here. The paper is nice and thick. Now, with that being said, there are a couple things that I found a little bit odd, and this is mostly due to the format, and I don't think, at least for one of the items, they're really going to be able to do a whole lot with it. So the first one here is if you take a look at chapter 21, rather frequently when it comes to that first line of a chapter, you'll notice the spacing of the text gets very wide, right? I noticed this especially in, let me pop over to Romans here. Romans 14 and 15 especially. Again, it's not every chapter, but like, look at that, Romans 14. And this, I believe, Romans 15. Okay. And this, I believe what's happening is that the font is rather large. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably somewhere between 11 and a 12-point font. And what happens is when you have a narrow column and a large font, it's difficult for whatever application you're using to typeset this to produce even spacing. So the way you would typically combat that is you would add hyphenation in there. But hyphenation in a Greek text is rather difficult because oftentimes they hyphenate in really weird places. Even in our own edition of the Byzantine text that we're working out, we had a little bit of struggle with that. I think we got to a place where it's good. But there are trade-offs when it comes to narrowing the column and adding such a large font. And this is one of those trade-offs. You're going to see places where the words tend to spread out a little bit more than normal. For me, I think that's acceptable for this volume. Now, the other thing that I wanted to point out in the format, you end up with some artifacts like this. You get a lot of white space on the bottom. And the reason for that is simply because they have to include all of the definitions. And as you see, there's so many definitions on this page that there's more than the size of the column that they have, even though they've narrowed the column. So you do run into that from time to time. Again, not a game changer. I don't know how that would be fixed if it could be. Not a big deal, at least not for me. So if we flip over to the end of the book, take a look at some of that back matter here. We go to Revelation chapter 22, and then you get a little Greek English lexicon. And this is for those words that appear more than 30 times, and it provides you a brief gloss for each of those words. So when you find them and they're not in the bottom, I said bottom, it's in the side, probably a word you should have memorized. But if you missed it, you can come to the back and take a look at this little dictionary there, this little lexicon that's provided. And once you get through that, you're on the last page here. A little bit about Grange Press or Grange Press or Grange Press or Grange Press. I don't know how to pronounce it. And then that is the end of the book. Would I recommend this? I would absolutely recommend it. In fact, I think this is probably going to be my daily driver for the next little bit. It's just such a beautiful Bible. And the price is extremely reasonable if you live in the States. I think it's like $35. But I am from Canada, and by the time I paid for conversion from USD to Canadian money and paid the shipping and duty and all that, actually I didn't get any duty on this one. It came out to just about 95 Canadian dollars, which was quite a bit. But for me, I think it's worth it. It's definitely a very nice edition. I have nothing but good things to say about this, and I do give it my thumbs up. Great edition. Grange Press, if this is your first book, that's awesome. Anyway, so that's my review of the Greek New Testament Readers Edition. Big thumbs up. I am exceptionally impressed by this beautiful volume. If you found this review useful, then go ahead and hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe if you are not subscribed already. And brothers and sisters, until next time, we'll see you around.